Yeah, no, I'm spineless. Oh, hi. Everybody, welcome to Tissue Talk with Julian and Mike, Protocol Sports Systems.
Okay, and we're live. Lucky you guys. Hey, we're coming from Protocol today because we've been here getting ready for all the people to return, and we can't wait for having everybody back and actually get our hands on you this time instead of doing all the telehealth. So we're super excited. Today, hi Gustavo. Today we are talking about nerves because about this time, I think everybody's getting on everybody else's nerves. I know you're getting on my nerves, and I'm probably getting on everybody else's nerves. What about nerves? We're going to talk a little bit about everything and why your nerves are getting on you. We have been getting a lot of phone calls lately about people who are having nerve pain. And
there's a lot of fear happening. I mean, people are scared. I've been through some nerve pain, and it is a scary thing because it's out of your control. It seems like it's out of your control. Yeah. Because it's just this driving pain. Anyway.
Well, and you get pain like running down your arm. You'll get pain running down your leg. I've had pain that have come into my toes. Sure. I've had pain that stopped into my butt. I've had pain that wrapped around the side. And it's really scary because it's like this unknown and this mystery, and it's really, really intimidating and
debilitating.
That too. And a lot of times though, people will get nerve pain and they will not know what to do with it, and they'll think like, oh my God, I have to go have surgery. Because surgery is always like the first in the mind for a lot of people when it comes to pain.
They think that because they know their uncle went through it, or their mother, or somebody had a similar pain and they had to go have surgery.
Yeah.
Not always the case, and a lot of times we're finding right now surgery is not the answer.
Yeah.
There's other ways out other than surgery.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what is it and why. And so what we're going to do is we're going to first start talking about the nervous system, because without the nervous system, we would have no nerves. And without the nerves, our muscles wouldn't be able to move. So they kind of go hand in hand. So we're going to start talking about that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the nervous system. The nervous system, it coordinates, controls, and communicates with our tissues. Like I said, without that, our muscles would just be there. They'd just be attached. But the only way that we can actually have contractile movement is through the nervous system. The nervous system tells the brain, the central nervous system gives it a command to say, hey, like move my arm. I'd like to move my arm. And then the central nervous system sends it back down to the peripheral nervous system, which is our arms and legs and the rest of our body, and says, okay, move that arm. And then we go and we move it. So the beauty of that is we're getting commands. It's a command center, right? We're getting commands sent left and right all day long.
Information in and information back out.
Yeah, and so there's a watchdog group of like sensory neurons that are coming in and saying like, we need to move. We want to move. There's stuff that is voluntary and there's parts that are involuntary. Like our heart's going to beat on our own. Hopefully we don't have to tell it to beat all the time. Our eyelids are always going to blink. They don't have to have direct commands. Mm-hmm. That's all in the autonomic nervous system or somatic nervous system. My apologies. So let's run through the nervous system. I'm nervous with all the talk of the nervous system. So the first thing we have is the central nervous system, right? That is your brain and your spinal cord. That is like the mother of all mothers. That is like where all the aliens hang out, is in the central nervous system. And so what's happening is it regulates all of the body functions and responds to all the external stimuli. It's interpreting all of the sensory information, and it's sending out instructions left and right, just like we said. It talks again to the peripheral nervous system. Now, the peripheral nervous system is the middleman network of motor and sensory fibers. It connects to the central nervous system, and what it's doing is the brain sending signals back down, the body sending signals back up, and it's basically how we move, how we walk, how we do. There's voluntary and there's involuntary. There's parts that are, God love it. Our body was designed to move on its own. Thank God we breathe and we don't have to tell ourselves to breathe all the time, although sometimes we have to remind ourselves to breathe.
Well, some of this is just your brain's processing all this information and making reactions to whatever information is coming up. So really, what the pain and that kind of is a sensation that your brain is interpreting. It's just information your brain is interpreting, and then it's going to make a reaction to that, and it can be hormonal reactions, chemical changes in the body, all different things that are a cascading effect as a result of let's say, pain or
Sure.
some kind of stimulus.
Sure. And that brings us to like the autonomic nervous system, which is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, right? We've all been hearing, I don't know about
Fight or
you,
flight.
I hear a ton about it these days because everybody is sitting in it all the time. Everybody's sitting in their sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight.
Fear.
It is that over stress. We're stressed out like this all the time. And when we're doing that, everything tightens up, everything slows down. We're ready to go at a moment's notice. Our
Chemical
heart is
response.
beating way too hard.
Cortisols,
Yeah.
everything.
Whereas hi Luann, hi Markel. Whereas the parasympathetic is rest and digest. It's when everything is calmed down. We're able to go to the bathroom again. We're able to like calm things. Our body feels better. We can
Think
breathe. Yeah, like we don't have the brain fog that we had. We're just like, ooh.
And you're able to actually heal.
Right.
In parasympathetic.
Right. So now we're gonna go, and then somatic is basically all of the underground stuff that we don't think of. It's just things that are happening
But
without
still
our.
respond to what's happening for the sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Sure. So that's kind of what makes up our nervous system, right? And so now we've got nerve pain. So we've kind of figured out that the body is now going into an ouch mode. Something is happening that's creating the compression into the nerve that's sending the stimulus up to the brain that's like,
Saying,
whoa.
something's wrong.
Yeah, we are hurting.
Information.
So what actually is it? So again, a lot of people, when they first get an injury, they'll either get it through the muscle, something will hurt, something will get impinged. We hear the word impingement all the time, right? So everybody's got an impingement somewhere.
Entrapment, impingement, something like that.
Let's talk about the difference between impingement and entrapment.
Yes.
What is the difference?
Well, I've looked up on different resources, and it seems to be actually used interchangeably. Or now whether they mean to use it interchangeably, I don't know. But I've seen it for even within a joint or in the disc for the spine. Within the spine, there's joints. They're talking about in one hand they're saying it's an impingement, and then the other side it's the entrapment. That's almost interchangeable.
Right. Okay.
So nerves being compressed.
Yeah, the nerve, and basically in my background in my study, I've always known as an impingement to be more of the joint, where the joint catches into the nerve root, and then when it's entrapped, it gets entrapped through like the muscle fiber or scar tissue or some type of fibrotic.
I'm on that line as well, not just because I'm sitting next to you, but because I actually agree with this one.
Yeah. So here's the deal. It could be either or. We all just know that it hurts.
It's pinching.
It pinches, and it goes into the actual nerve root, the root that's coming out of the spinal cord. Sometimes we can actually get impingement trapped into the fibers that will actually put it in different spots, and we'll have running every time we activate or move. It's caught. There's a sheath.
So you're saying it can actually get entrapped within muscle fiber,
Yeah.
or in tissue fiber.
Right,
That's what you're
entrapment
trying to say,
in
yeah.
the tissue fiber
Yeah.
or in scar tissue. Like
Right.
let's say you've had a surgery and they've cut you and everything is starting
Scarred
to heal
down.
and it scars down. Now the sheath, you have a sheath that is outside of the actual nerve. So you have the nerve that kind of runs through the sheath. So the sheath can get caught and then it tugs onto the nerve. And so what's happening is where we normally be able to move back and forth, and we have a tube that runs back and forth like
smooth
this,
glide, yeah.
it's not moving anymore. So it'd be like if I'm just pulling on my t-shirt and it's not going. It's going to create pain everywhere that it yanks on, right? So that's kind of like the background of issue of impingement versus entrapment. But let's talk about the nerves themselves and like the different plexi. So you guys will hear talk about the spinal nerves in a whole idea of the nerve plexus. And so there's 4 different main
What would a
plexi.
plexus be?
It's basically it's where they're a group of intersecting nerves. So you'll have a bunch of different nerves that are running in and out. All your nerves are entwined with one another. And a lot of times the nerves, it's never just one. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, John. Hi, guys. I'm so happy to have all you guys on. With the nerves are like an intersecting highway, right? And so here's the cool thing about the nerves is you'll always have, it's never just if I have my guy here who I've tried to destroy in past videos, these all yellow things that are coming out of it are all the nerves. They're all the nerve roots. You're never going to just have, you're always going to have one that comes out, but they jump in and out depending. And then all of the nerve roots actually move in and out, up and down the body, so that and they're attached to each other, so that if one nerve gets injured, the body can still move. It's really, really specifically done because the body is pretty amazing. So it really does want you to keep moving.
Only when you really sever the whole thing, that's when you're going to lose from below that.
Yeah. So they have these things called the plexi, which is all of the intersecting nerves. And it basically, what it does is there are 4 of them. There are basically 4 of them. They've combined the last 2. But there's the cervical plexus. There's the brachial plexus, which is a really big one for most of us. And there's the lumbar and spinal, which most of them move into lumbosacral.
That's mine.
So there's 4 main ones. So if you go to the doctor, if you're having it, those are the ones that you're going to hear all the time. And what they are is they are comprised of spinal nerves that branch out in the direction of organs and skeletal muscles that they innervate. Right? So that's their job, is to innervate it. So we're going to break down each plexus, and then we're going to tell you what's going on with that sciatic nerve that everybody seems to have.
Thoracic outlet.
Yeah.
On the arm. The radiating pain down the arm, particular pain.
We hear about nerves all the time because we talk nerves. We talk everything soft tissue, but we get on everybody's nerves, and everybody gets on our nerves all the time. The one thing I will say, if you have sciatica, this is not sciatica.
Yeah.
So sciatica is a specific actual nerve that runs in your butt and in your low back. So we're going to break them down so that I want you guys to know, if you're having the pain, where it's coming from really and what it does. And that way you guys can be more empowered and educated, so that if something goes on, we can really figure out why.
Maybe take some of that fear out of that pain, because pain is scary. And if you kind of understand why you're getting it, might take some of that fear out, and actually can start to ratchet down some of the pain when you take the fear away from it.
Yeah, because a lot of times just getting pressed on the nerve, even let's go to the side for a little bit before we talk about nerves. You're so stupid. What about that? Everybody thinks that if they have a bulging disc, that it's automatic surgery. So what happens is, again, if we're going into here, before we jump through all of the nerves, all of these little bodies in between these vertebral bodies, there is what's called your intervertebral disc. And in the disc, it's lined. It's got synovial fluid in it, but it's lined. And if you notice, it comes right in front of, anterior to, these nerve roots. So as we move and groove, and if our posture is really bad, or if we've gotten into a lot of accidents, or if we're on a roller coaster, or we've gotten into a couple of car accidents where we've got a little whiplash, these guys get whipped around, and there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of movement that happens in the vertebrae, and they kind of get shoved around, and then a lot of pressure is put into these discs. And so what'll happen is you'll get the discs that will start to kind of push out from one side to the other, and it will bulge. And so if you have a vertebrae that's sitting off just a little bit and shifted, it's putting pressure onto the disc, and that's creating inflammation. That's then putting inflammation into the nerve root.
And it's quite often that the disc will actually push out magically towards that nerve root. It tends not to push away from it, it tends to push more towards it.
Right, and so what it does is it sits into the nerve root like this, and then from that nerve root, then it sends a signal like, oh crap, something is really bad going on, and then you're feeling the nerve sending an oh help me signal. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to need surgery all the time. What it's doing is it's sending a signal that something is not working correctly in your body. And that means you get a chance to really correct your posture, you get a chance to calm your muscles down, because now the muscles are becoming involved, because they're guarding and everything else is like, and really, really, really tight. Yeah. What we want to do is we're not doctors, and we don't even pretend to play one. We don't do anything. What we're trying to do is just give you the education around what it is, because the majority of time, unless you have something that has been like that for a long time, and either you have a bulging disc that won't decompress on the nerve, or a herniated disc, or you get into an accident of some type, a lot of times what you can do is, once the inflammation calms down from the nerve and or the posture, the vertebrae, the posture in the pelvis, everything gets right, then what will happen is it will calm everything down, and then that nerve pain will go away. That's why a lot of people will have intermittent pain, where it's like some days they just wake up and they're like, I'm in a lot of pain. And it was after the day that they did a lot of shoving. They did a lot of they were doing jujitsu. They got put into a funky move. They were jackhammering. They were cleaning the garage, because everybody's cleaning the garage these days.
It could be as simple as you slip on a little bit of water, just a little slip where you catch yourself.
Yeah.
That sudden shift could manipulate a disc, shift the spinal column over just a little bit,
yep,
and start to impinge. But the good thing is, it's all information. So what you need to do is talk to somebody who can help you interpret that information, and guide you in the right direction of what you might need to do.
But just have the information so you know where it's coming from. So I think understanding what plexus and what vertebrae are being worked on, then you'll know, hey, if it's in the front of my leg, it's something completely different than if it's in my butt. Yeah. Then you'll know kind of where to guide them, because then you're giving them a lot of help too. So we're going to start with the cervical plexus.
Right.
The cervical plexus is obviously in your neck, because these are your cervical vertebrae, and it is C1 through C5. Each vertebrae is given a number. There are 5 cervical, there are 12 thoracic, and then there are 5 lumbar vertebrae.
5 cervical.
7 cervical. 7 cervical, 12 thoracic. You wouldn't believe I teach this on a daily basis, would you? 12 thoracic and 5
I don't know, you're kind of smart.
lumbar vertebrae. I'm kind of smart, but I'm blonde right now, so what can I say? So C1 through C5 are your cervical plexus. That is right here. That means the nerve roots that pop out of here, what they do is they innervate the muscles on the side of the neck and your diaphragm. And that's why if people have had a lot of problems with their neck, paralysis and whatnot happens up here, and it'll affect your breathing. Yeah. So we really want to be careful with a lot of these when we're going through our whiplash for car accidents. Be careful with the cracking of the neck all of the time, because there's a lot that goes on in here that it just innervates the sides of the neck. It innervates how we move. If we're having issues in here, we could have our head can kind of list to one side or crick over, or we could have a lot of diaphragmatic issues as well. So if you are all of a sudden having a lot of problems in here, it might be from here. Yeah. So one of our mentors, James Wozlowski, always teaches that if you are watering your plants and you're missing your water, and you've got a big long hose, and if you go to the first kink, and it's got 5 or 6 kinks in it, you're never going to get more water out of it by going to the kink at the very end of the hose. You always want to start at the faucet, and that would be your neck. So you always want to think about starting at the faucet and working to the end of the hose. Does that make sense? I hope it does with you guys. Hi, John. I'm glad you love this. You are my inspiration for this. Okay, so that is the cervical plexus. Now, your brachial plexus is that is almost the majority of people who are having any kind of upper shoulder, arm, and hand issues. Your brachial plexus is where people get thoracic outlet syndrome. So this is considered your thoracic outlet. This is your thorax, which is your chest, and this is where all of your nerves come out. They come out from your nerve roots, they come under your clavicle, they go underneath your pec major and minor, and that's how they innervate your arm and your hand. So they are C5 through T1. Not a lot of space, but a lot, because see, you have 7 vertebrae and you're doing a lot of shifting and extending and moving, and you can get these things.
What happens if I'm sitting like this looking at my phone?
Yeah, all the time.
Compression right through here.
Yeah. So not only do they compress right here, but they run out here. So if you're compressed in the front of your neck with the muscles, your scalenes and or sternocleidomastoid in the front of your neck, into your pec and pec minor, which is driving your shoulder forward. This is going to end up with a lot of, you could have tingling, you can have numbness, you can have that numbness and tingling and achiness, and that could be from your brachial plexus.
Yeah.
The other thing we want to know too is when you're having disc or impingement issues, most of the time it's tingling, numbness, or pain. There should be no weakness with it.
Yeah.
If you're having weakness in anything, then you get to call your doctor immediately, because that is something really bad going on.
And it still doesn't mean surgery.
It doesn't, but it means it's the next step. If you all of a sudden are having diminished capacity to squeeze or hold, and it's getting pain is one thing, holding it, and I'll take that, I take that back in a way where a lot of times you'll have pain inhibition, where you'll have pain and your body's like, ow, that really hurts. And so it'll feel like weakness. But if you literally can't squeeze your fingers together, there's something else going on.
Another way to look at this is painless weakness. So you're actually not experiencing pain, but I can't seem to hold, I can't turn a doorknob. I can't seem to hold that coffee mug anymore. I'm just like, it's just dropping.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily painful. That's, get to the doctor right away.
Yeah. So back to the brachial plexus, right? So we've got C5 through T1. That's in that thoracic outlet syndrome area. There are 5 branches that come off of this. This is really important to know, because this also is your carpal tunnel, your cubital tunnel, your elbow pain a lot of the time. I have bicep pain. I have pain running down the back of my shoulder. There's a lot of nerves in here that are really, really important. They're all important, but some of them we get a little more attention. So you have your axillary short nerve, which is going into your deltoid, and your teres minor, which is part of your rotator cuff back here. Deltoid here, teres minor back in here. You have your short nerve is your musculocutaneous nerve, and that is your C5 through C7, and that is your shoulder and your elbow flexors. So everything that's flexing your shoulder and elbow, that's a nerve that goes right to there. So if you're having that, there is something that goes on in there.
Does this seem complicated?
Totally.
It is. It is totally complicated, but we're trying to make it sound a little bit, have something you can actually digest a little bit, at least have some understanding.
Yeah.
But it is complicated.
The next ones you're going to know. The next ones it's your radial nerve, your median nerve, and your ulnar nerve. And they come across in here. In your forearm, you've got your ulna and your radius. And so you've got the ulna, and then the radius crosses the ulna. Your radial nerve is a long nerve. And so what it does is it innervates all of the muscles that extend the elbow.
Kind of important.
As well as the wrist and the fingers. So it's these guys. If you're having pain in this, if you're doing this and you're having pain, radial nerve. The median nerve is your carpal tunnel. So the median nerve comes through the middle of the nerve and comes through, and that's where we get a lot of that. I have carpal tunnel problem.
What would be like a way to describe what carpal tunnel feels like?
So carpal tunnel is that constant pain in the wrist. Also, if you have carpal tunnel and you go into here and you tap on that, you will feel a pain in the wrist.
Typically, when you get carpal tunnel, it's going to affect these fingers, your thumb and your index and middle finger. Yep. Not so much of the index or the ring and the little finger. It's going to be these. And you're not necessarily going to experience pain. You can, but you got to get that numbness, tingling, paresthesia. You're going to feel that stuff radiating through here.
Right. So that is your median nerve. The median nerve, also, a lot of people get that, and it goes right through the center, guys. It's right in the center, and it is the one that everybody thinks is carpal tunnel. So if they're saying you have carpal tunnel, start up here, because a lot of times it's coming from up here instead of going from here. Remember, you don't ever want to scratch the itch. You want to figure out who bit you. Be like, where did the bite come from? I just made that one. You like that one? That was a good one. I thought it was good. So, speaking of funny, we're going to the funny bone now. Do you guys remember cracking your elbow and you have that pain that runs down your elbow? That's actually your ulnar nerve, and that's still in your neck. So even though we have pain going down here, it's coming from in here.
Well, unless you just banged it right there, and then it's coming from right there.
Right, but if you're having pain that's hanging out in here,
Lingering pain,
it is coming from your neck. So that passes between it passes between the bones in your elbow.
get complicated.
I'm not trying to complicate it too much, but together they innervate the shoulder, the arm, and the hand.
Yeah.
So if you're having anything going into your arm, hand, into your fingers, if you're the last 3 fingers in here, it's coming through in here a lot. That is your thoracic outlet, potentially, but that's where these nerves innervate.
The bottom line is that just because you're feeling pain doesn't mean you have to have surgery. And you need to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about to maybe, again, interpret that information that your body's getting, your brain's receiving, and figure out where is it coming from and see how quickly it can clear. A lot of these can be cleared very quickly.
Yeah, and again, a lot of it can be nerve entrapment instead of nerve impingement. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, hi, Oliver, thank you. Not necessarily does it mean that it's coming from your neck and there's a really big problem with your neck. It could be coming from the muscles, because how are we holding ourselves these days? If I'm holding myself like this because I'm a ball of stress, because I haven't got funded, because my stimulus check isn't in, because whatever is happening is happening, our shoulders are up into our ears. All of these are now overworking. These muscles are working overtime. And so what's happening is they're compressing down onto the nerves and they're sending signals, and then the nerves are like, ah. And so sometimes they just can't relax and they compress on the nerve. So you want to go through all of the area, here all the way down.
Now, we can talk on this for hours. Do you want to go into a little bit of lumbar?
Yeah, we're going into lumbar now. So we're hitting lumbar, and then we're going into sciatic nerve, femoral nerve, and then we're just going to have, how do we fix it? So we're coming to the end. I promise there's the light at the end of the tunnel, you guys. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. So we've gone through cervical, we've gone through brachial, we're into lumbar and sacral. So a lot of times it's your lumbar and your spinal, or lumbosacral. They throw those two together. And what those are your lumbar plexus and your spinal plexus, which basically what they do is it's L1 through L4, and then L4 through S4, because remember, your sacrum is fused down there. Look at all the yellow that's going on in there. That's a lot of nerves. And remember, you're sitting on these all the time. These are getting compressed. These are getting compressed. If you're doing a ton of sitting and or rotating or shifting, and this pelvis is shifting, it's crunching into these nerves.
Sitting is our enemy, unfortunately.
It really is. And or if your posture is really bad, you have your SI joint that's right here that will hit into your sacral plexus as well.
So many ways to get pain.
So the big nerve that's hanging on here, the lumbar plexus, it innervates your pelvis and your thigh. So that's your pelvis here, and then the front of your thigh is your lumbar. The sacral one is going into the thigh, the leg, and the foot. That's this guy. That's where sciatic nerve comes into play. So the front up here is more the front of the leg and the pelvis. This back here is into the thigh, the leg, and the foot. So you're looking at more of the posterior side, or it wraps itself around the side of it. Yeah. So this is really an important part, because you got to know the distinction between the two. The femoral nerve. The femoral nerve is a gigantic nerve. It is a really large nerve, and it innervates the iliacus in here, and then the quadriceps femoris, which is back in here. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that if you're having an issue in here or in here, that's that femoral nerve. If it's running into your butt, it could easily be the femoral nerve. It works as well as like pectineus, like a lot of the muscles that kind of come through in this area. So you'll have one that runs here, and then it might run into the front of the leg on the inside. Could be femoral nerve. It's not necessarily sciatic. A lot of people assume it's a sciatic nerve.
But even if it was, that doesn't. It's not.
No. So know where it's going to when it's compressed. Yeah. Now, sciatic nerve. Dun, 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 sciatic nerve. This is the buzzword for everybody. Everybody's got a sciatic nerve issue. Sciatic nerve is the largest nerve in the body. It's like the circumference of this. So we got a big pinky, and that's our nerve. We don't have tiny little nerves. We got a big, big nerve. And it innervates your hamstrings and your adductor magnus, which is the inside of your leg. So if you're feeling pain coming down this way in the back of the leg or in the inside of the leg, that is sciatica. That's true sciatic nerve. So the sciatic nerve it's a bundling of two nerves, and then they split at the knee into separate branches. So then they'll go down into the knee, and then it'll be like, oh, I feel it on the outside of my leg or the inside of my leg. Sciatica. That's your sciatic nerve. So then it splits into what's called the tibial or the peroneal. And so if the outside is called the peroneal and that jumps down, the tibial nerve goes back into the back side of the leg and it innervates like your calves. And then the other one, the peroneal nerve, is in the front side of the leg and it goes into extensors. So if you're trying to move your ankle and lift your ankle up and you're having a hard time doing it, call the doctor. But that is definitely more sciatic nerve. And that's coming from the base of your back, L3 through S3, these guys right here, right there. That's the base of your pain right there. So we need to know where everything is. The thing is with sciatica is if it's giving you a direct pressure, you're going to have shooting pain.
Yeah.
You can have numbness and tingling, but if it's direct on there, it's shooting pain. If it's like numbness and tingling, it could be direct, but it could be from the inflammation as well. Right. So there's a couple of different things. If you are getting weakness with the numbness, you cannot stand on your foot or on your toe, or you cannot pull your foot up, call the doctor.
Right away.
That's a big red flag. But for everything else, maybe it could be postural. It could be as everything is rotated in here, as we're kind of crunched in here, as the pelvis is moved and rotated, it can compress. If we're doing a lot of anterior tilting this way, it's compressing into those nerves. So there's a lot of that too.
So a lot of times it could just be a matter of repositioning. Even just laying flat on the floor can help to calm things down, and you might notice that starts to make it a little bit better. Yeah. These are good signs. If you can lay down flat and it starts to calm down, really good sign. But still, if you're getting that weakness, doctor.
And remember too, the muscle surrounding it is going to be going into like high guard because that's its job. It's trying to protect you. So we need to calm the muscle down around so that you can actually see what's happening. If you don't calm the muscle down, then you could actually exacerbate the issue by not putting everything back into neutral. So the body really does want to go into balance. It's really, really important that it goes into balance. So that's important for no matter where you are. You want to make sure that if you're squished into here and everything's compressed, you push that back and you open that up to give this an opportunity to breathe. And the other thing with nerve pain is it doesn't go away like that. The reason why they say you're getting on my nerves is because it's taken a while, and then it takes a while for you to get less annoying. And that's how nerves work too. Unfortunately, once you've irritated them, the muscle is exhausted, everything else is exhausted. The body doesn't know really what is going on. It's getting all these signals all the time. Sometimes it does take a while for it to calm down.
Well, think about it. If somebody's irritating you, they've been irritating you for a long time. Does it take much from them to irritate you now?
No.
It's actually, you're right on the edge always of being irritated by them because it's something that's been gnawing at you. Mm-hmm. It's much the same as what's going on in here. If you've been irritated for a long time, it just takes a little bit and it can send you down on the ground writhing in pain. I know because I've been there.
So have I. I mean, everything that we've had that we talk about, we've had it. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty much like the poster child for dysfunction. Lucky me. But it makes me a really good therapist, so lucky you. Yeah. Hey, so how do we get rid of it? How do we get rid of it?
Well, that's what we've kind of been alluding to with different things. Sometimes with that sciatic pain, if you're truly getting that sciatic pain, laying flat on your back, getting your knees up in a 99 position, relaxing there will help start to calm down and get some of that inflammation out. Get your sympathetic down into a parasympathetic, and then you can at least start to breathe right and start to calm down. Yeah. That's a quick little thing. Start to stretch it up and find out if your pelvis is misaligned and start to get your pelvis realigned again. Starts taking the pressure off it again.
Yeah. A lot of times, I promise you, if you're having an issue up in here, we have to calm the muscle and the tissue around it, even just to get to the area and figure out what it is. Now, remember, There can be nerve impingement, which means there's a joint involvement, which means your vertebrae has a little bit of joints. There's ligaments in there that attach to each one. So if it's rotated, it's going to throw everything off. It could be your pelvis being off a little bit, and that compresses it. It could be your neck. It could be your upper trap being entrapping the nerve and pulling on the nerve sheath. The fibers getting pulled. We have to figure out what it is, but in order to do that, calming the muscle down and putting everything back into the right position.
Some other simple things is that what led up to that? It's usually not one thing. It just happened. You woke up and there it was. You woke up and there it was, but why? What led up to? How many years led up to that moment where you all of a sudden got in pain? And big thing that we've noticed over time, and we were just talking about this earlier, is hydration. How much water are you drinking? Are you drinking at least maybe 8 glasses or so of water? We need to stay hydrated. If we're not hydrated and we're in this stress mode, everything's going to start becoming a little stickier and stickier, where that can be causing some of your pain as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes just hydrating and you can start to feel better.
Yeah, it's like the difference between a chicken breast and beef jerky. That beef jerky is just dehydrated chicken. I mean, it's beef and regular beef, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Give me a break. I haven't eaten lunch yet. It all sounds good to me. But if we dehydrate something, then it makes it really, really tough to move. And remember, we're 80% fluid.
Yeah.
So we need our fluid to make everything work. Our blood, our joints, our synovial fluid, the circulation, everything works better when we have a little bit more fluid in us. So the biggest takeaway, there's not the biggest. One of the big takeaways in order to help sciatica, to help any kind of brachial plexus thoracic outlet pain, is to see and to take a personal inventory of how your body feels. This is an opportunity for you to go inward instead of outward, which is where you're in pain. That's what you want to do. I want you guys to really pay attention to, how is my shoulder? If my shoulder's sitting up like this, you guys are going to know that this is not how it's supposed to feel.
You can see it.
Check your body. If you're off, you may be sitting like a crab. You may be like in the letter C or S. That's your body's reaction to pain. So if we can get you, if you can get yourself level, if we can get you level, coming in and seeing somebody about it, getting yourself leveled out, going through and releasing and calming down certain areas is going to be really, really, really helpful for the nerves. And then it is going to take the nerves, the muscles are going to be exhausted because they're sore, because they've been working overtime. And then once that happens, everything will start to kind of go away. And if any type of nerve pain stays on and on and on and on and it doesn't go away, you need to see somebody for that. You have to. You can't just wait on it, because when you compress a nerve, after a while, it's not getting any nutrients, it's not getting any oxygen, it's certainly not getting any kind of sensory conversation from the brain, right? Except for pain, and it'll shut it off. And so we want to make sure that we catch it before we have permanent results. So if you're having any kind of pain after a while, definitely go see the doctor. So there you go.
Yeah.
I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you guys, we're getting a ton, like I said, of sciatic pain.
Nerve pain.
People are getting a lot of nerve pain that they think is sciatic pain that's running all over the body. This is not sciatic pain. This is not sciatic pain. The front of the leg is not sciatic pain. We want to make sure that you guys can understand the difference. If you have a lot of thoracic outlet pain here, open up your shoulder. Try opening up your shoulder and stretching into your chest and your pec and stretching your neck. If you can do that and the pain subsides and the pain drops down, then it's a lot of times it's just a soft tissue issue. If you're stretching into your low back and you're stretching into the front of your legs, your hip flexors, your psoas, a lot of the stuff that compresses us and keeps us flexed, and your pain starts to go away, a lot of times that's a soft tissue issue.
Yeah, if you're getting all this information in your brain that you're experiencing all this pain, look at your posture. Find out where you are. If you could look in a mirror once you can calm down and
Yeah.
realize, look at me, find out where you are and see if you can correct it on your own. What would be a better posture? Sometimes that instantly starts to bring it down. At least,
Yeah.
maybe not take it away, but it'll reduce it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So we hope that this has been really informative and educational for you. We love putting these things on, so we do these every single week if you guys haven't figured that out yet. Please share this with any of your friends that you think may want to see this or hear this, or
Like and
ask
share.
them to join Tissue Talk. We would love to have as many people on as possible so we can start talking about everything tissue, because your tissues have issues and you need to talk about it.
Absolutely.
So next week we will see you again at 12:30. If you have any comments or any questions for us, leave them in the comment box or ask us. We can help you as much as possible. I hope you guys are doing great. Hey, you guys learned really quickly. The phone's already going.
Oh, we'll get
So I hope you guys are having a great day. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll see you next week at 12:30. Bye.